Jim Oxen and cronies are sitting there and they've had a meeting and they said, you know what, inflation, it's a bit of a problem at the moment. We are going to, what we want is for interest rates to increase. So the way that we would understand that in terms of this course is the Reserve Bank decides they're going to decrease the money supply. Okay? Long and the short of that story. The Reserve Bank decreases the money supply. Okay? I want you, in diagrams, to show me what the effect on output is due to the first round effects and the second round effects of that decrease in money supply. Okay? Should I repeat that one more time? Okay? Money supply is decreasing. Contractionary monetary policy. Money supply is decreasing. What I want you to show me in the diagram, or a series of diagrams, ideally, in fact, I want a series of diagrams, is for you to show me what the effect is on output. But I want to know what is the effect on output because of the first round effect, and I want to know what is the effect on output due to the second round effect. Okay? So the Reserve Bank wants to contain inflation. Unfortunately, there is a trade-off. Control inflation, bring down prices. Tell me what the trade-off is. Tell me what happens in the first round. Tell me what happens in the second round. It's up to you. Go for it. Okay, everyone. Shall we talk this through quickly? Okay, I had some revealing questions, and hopefully working through this, what you have discovered is a better understanding of what's going on and working through some issues. At least a couple of people that we had that happen with at least a couple of people, so that's great. So what I told you was we had a contractionary monetary policy. In other words, if we had some money market, money demand, money supply, and this is MD0, MD1, contractionary monetary policy, what's that going to do? It's going to shift our money supply curve. Sorry, MS0, this is going to be MS1. Shifts our money supply curve to the left. So my question was, there's some effect on output. What is the change in output? Due to the first round effect. And what is the change in output due to the second round effect? So what's pretty straightforward, I think, we're looking at the first round, is to note that that decrease in money supply has led to an increase in interest rates. So we were at R0, we're now, it's led to R1. So if we look at investments, we plot interest rates, we're at some level of investment, I0, with the increase in interest rates, from R0 to R1, we've had a decrease in investment from I0 to I1. What does a decrease in investment do in terms of our aggregate demand, aggregate supply diagram? We had some equilibrium level of interest rates, giving us some equilibrium price level called P0. We had some level of output Y0. Decrease in investment. What does decrease in investment do? We'll shift my aggregate demand curve to the left. So with prices unchanged, I would have some new level of output Y1, and the difference between Y1 and Y0 is the same as the difference between I1 and I0. Okay? So that's our first round effect. What is the second round effect? Well, the second round effect is the following. This money demand was when we were at output Y0. With some new output level Y1, what happens to money demand? Money demand decreases and shifts to MD1, so MD1, which is associated with Y1, okay? Which does what? It lowers our interest rate. Let's call this new interest rate R, I don't know, X, okay? With a decrease in interest rates, what happens to investments? So initially, our investment decreased. Now our investment is increasing. So the decrease in interest rate leads to an increase in investment. And so our investment increases from I1 to call it IX. What does the increase in investment do? The increase in investment does what? It shifts our aggregate demand. So AD0, so we shifted initially to AD1. Now we're going to shift to ADX. Okay? And we can have some new level of output here. YX. And this distance, the difference between Y1 and YX, here, this is the first part of the second round. Right? Then what happens? Well, we've still unfortunately found ourselves in a situation where the quantity of output demanded, and the quantity supplied are not equal. We have excess supply. What does that do to prices? That drives down prices, right? As prices decrease and we move towards P1, that decrease in prices does what to money supply? It increases money supply, right? Real money supply. So our increase in real money supply once again lowers our interest rate. Let's call this one RY. Yeah, it shouldn't be, RY should not be there. Sorry, let me redraw this line. RY is unfortunately going to have to fit in a very small little gap over here. So let's, okay, so now this is MS with prices P1. Okay, so MS, call this one MS2. So MS0 was at prices P0 and MS1 was at prices P0. MS2 is at prices P1. We have some interest rate RY. RY sits in between these two lines here, unfortunately. I didn't give myself much space. RY. What does that do to my investment? Increases investment slightly again. Increase in investment. What does that do? It moves me down my aggregate demand curve. And this distance between YY and YX is the second part of the second round. You happy with that? And RY is less than Y0. Everyone happy with that? Yeah. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, so what point do you iterate?
We iterate until we get to the new equilibrium point. In other words, as prices from P0, as prices start falling, money supply starts shifting from MS1 to MS2. MS2 stops shifting when prices stop falling. Prices stop falling when we get to P1, because that's when we're in equilibrium again. Which means interest rates stop falling, right, when we get the intersection of MS2 and MD1. Which means investment stops increasing when we get to that point. Which means we stop moving down our aggregate demand curve at that point. So, you know, we've jumped from one point to the other point, but obviously it's a continuous process in between there. But it'll end at that point. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not so certain what causes the shift or the movement what causes prices to decrease.
Why do prices decrease? Okay. Let me make it in a way that will hopefully make things very clear. So I have Y, I have P, I have demand, and I have supply. If my quantity of, if this is quantity demanded and this is quantity supplied, what's going to happen? If I'm at this price level, P0, and I have excess supply, what's going to happen in this market?
Is it based on like what we learned in microeconomics that now that there's a lot of supply, now people are going to stop, the price will automatically decrease because of the excess supply?
It's the same principle, right? I mean, we're not doing microeconomics, so the reasons that these things, that we move along, in other words, the underlying determinants of demand and underlying determinants of supply are different to microeconomics in macroeconomics. But the adjustment mechanism is the same. When the quantity of supply is different to the quantity demanded, the price level adjusts to bring the two to equilibrium. Yes? Are you comfortable with this? So that's exactly what's happening. Yeah. Okay. So it got a little bit messy, but you're happy that the price level is going to decrease because the quantity supplied exceeds the quantity demanded. As the price level starts decreasing, what happens to real money supply? If the price level is going down, the real quantity of goods that money can buy is increasing, as if the supply of your money has increased. So your real money supply increases. As your real money supply increases, what happens to your interest rates? Your interest rates decrease. As your interest rate decreases, what happens to quantity of investment demanded? Increases. As investment increases, what happens? We move downwards along our aggregate demand. Yes, unless it's caused by a change in prices. If the change in investment is caused by the change in prices, that is exactly how we derive the aggregate demand, right? Change in price leads to various changes. In this instance, it's the effect is being felt on investment. So we move down our. Okay, now that was a lot of information to get through, and my throat is very sore. And I'm gonna, no, I'm just gonna. So are you happy with that? You can, okay, you really need to draw this thing and draw it again and draw it again. Just set it up, work through it slowly. You work through it slowly. There's nothing earth-shattering here. Everything here is just iterative steps. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. If you follow the steps, you'll get to the end. It's like walking up a tall building. You can't just jump. But you take each step, you get to the top, right? You just take each step, you will get to the end. You try and just get to the end, jump to the end, it's potentially going to be very difficult. So go practice the stuff, work through it, make sure everything in your mind is fitting together. And then we'll do it again on Friday.